Each week here at the Chateau deals up something new and unexpected. The kittens have moved home. We have horse news, horse racing, kind of, a lot of bashing and clearing as we get ready for a visit from the television cameras, and I found time to fall out of an aeroplane. But first, back to the beginning of the week. So it's a little bit after 8 o'clock in the morning and we have just had a very long delivery. We have a new carpet to go in the East Wing suite, the guest suite that we hope to have up and running for the holiday season next year. But it's not the only arrival that we've got at the moment. We have behind the kitten cage, which the kittens have moved out of now, so they're moving up in the world, so that's going to be dismantled and put away. But behind it is a very large box. We'll get to that another time. But added to that, over here, we have recently had a delivery of terracotta tiles. And these tiles are to finish the bathroom in the East Wing suite. So I'll have some more chopping down into hexagon shapes of those larger ones. And these ones are for the back kitchen, which is through that wall there. And that riding hat could be a suggestion of deliveries to come in the near future, but I'll leave it at that for now. And now the kittens. You remember them? Two cuddly orphan sisters found in a supermarket car park. They got sick with cat flu after they arrived and we nursed them back to health. Yes, those kittens. Well, after they started doing this to Jane's expensive new curtains, they simply had to go. Into the next room, which is slightly more kitten-proof. Emphasis firmly on the slightly. This old stereo was here when we arrived, so we aren't too worried about them climbing on it. It is cold here today. I think it's about 6 degrees, so I've got my new ski jacket on. I bought this at a sort of jumble sale kind of thing that was organised a few weeks ago. It's brilliant, fits perfectly. I like it. Anyway, I'm laying out some fence posts so that this field becomes another horse's field. So every 3 meters or so, I've been putting a post down, which I'll then hammer in with the post tool. And I say every 3 meters, it's every 3 big strides. It's very scientific, you know. I think it's going to look really pretty with horses in this field and the barn in the background with the orangery and, when we dig it, the swimming pool. Bashing fence posts is hot work. I was shedding layers at a rate of knots. Luckily, the job was finished before I took my trousers off. I lined up the fence posts by eye. First I bashed in the ends, then lined up the middle and worked my way backwards and forwards until they were all in. This looks like I did it in seconds. Whilst I caught my breath, Jane fixed on the hooks and wire, making this field nearly ready for use. She also needed to trim her bush back a bit so we could attach the electric fence. Brave woman. To complete this field, we had a few more posts to do. Jane took a turn doing the bashing, as I was feeling a little feek and weeble after the first 16 posts. With the television cameras coming in a week, we still have a lot of work to do before they arrive.
I'm currently shutting Harry out of that next field because we are working on fencing the final field and I'm going to want to make a gate down there for him. So soon he will have access to the far paddock and he wants it now, but we can't give it to him quite now. So I'm just shutting him out at the moment.
This is fence bashing in real time. Mind you, 3 of my bashes is worth about 1 of Rory's.
Is that warming you up?
It does warm me up.
We need a panda.
As the fence line was disappearing into the bamboo forest, it was time to take action.
So I'm taking down some of the bamboo which is encroaching. Rory's just put these fence posts up in the perfect place as if there wasn't as much bamboo as there currently is. So it gives the most amount of grass to the horses, but it means we need to start cutting some of that back so we can still walk behind it. And these anvil head loppers are absolutely brilliant. You can tackle even the bamboo shoots with the biggest trunks, and it makes light work of them. It's great fun. I'm enjoying it. So this is shaping up quite well. Taking down some bamboo fairly easily, and it wasn't too dense either. I think most of it must have been originally planted closer to the pond or lake, and so this bit is all where it's encroached, where it was never meant to be. So it's not quite so dense, making good progress. But some of them, even after they're cut, are going to be quite treacherous. And here we've got one that's growing back on itself into the ground, which is a classic way to trip someone up. So I'm going to have to tackle that specifically.
We'd now put in all 30 of the fence posts that we just bought, but it's not quite enough to finish this field. We'll have to buy more and bash more before the film crew arrives next week. Admittedly, the bamboo hasn't been processed. Maybe we can get the leaves off some of it and use it in the garden. But at least I'd managed to clear a path around the perimeter. I put up some temporary electric fencing, and then all that was left to do was to let Harry into his new paddock. This should keep Harry and Penny happy for a couple of days. Meanwhile, here's a cleaner grey horse. This lovely Connemara is called Dizzy. We tried him out in the last episode, and now we're back again. Marion is an experienced rider and is bringing him back into work after a 2-year break. She rode him first, but when I got on, Dizzy seemed to think he'd finished his lesson and lost concentration, so I asked for the trot on the lunge rein so that we each had less to think about. I was a bit tentative, but his trot was actually very comfortable. With lots more work on both sides, I think he'll be perfect for us, and we are very pleased to announce that we've agreed to buy Dizzy, as well as Molly the Shetland, who will be a companion pony for Penny, the companion ex-racehorse.
Hello, Dizzy. Oh, a good boy. But we're not coming to see you just now. This is Molly and her even smaller mummy. With legs as long as theirs, they're clearly made for one thing. And they're off. Molly's mummy makes a break, taking an early lead before Molly realises they're racing. But Molly is known for her speed and quickly kicks up little to no dust in pursuit. They make it as far as the 2-metre line before Dizzy notices and takes up the chase, ambling hot on the heels of Molly, who is making steady inroads on Molly's mummy's lead, who has seen her lead dwindle as she fades after too much effort in the early part of the race. As they reach the last 0.005 furlong, Molly passes Molly's mummy for the first place, and second is snatched by Dizzy. Oh, Molly's mummy, who led for much of the race but just didn't have the legs to see it out. Great win for Molly. Welcome to Jane's Find of the Day with Jane.
Hello and welcome to this week's Find of the Day at Chateau de Pican. Today I'm going to be talking about this. I'm keeping toasty warm by the fire because it is quite cold outside. It's obviously a teapot, and I don't know if it's obvious to you, but certainly when you look underneath it, it has some Arabic script that would suggest this has been made in an Arab-speaking country. And then when I looked up to see what it might be, it was described as a Moroccan teapot. So I guess that makes sense. It's got a rather lovely eagle perched on top, and then its spout looks quite like a serpent. And then it's got some rather beautiful legs, quite ornately crafted around each side. And I wondered whether it was silver, but I thought it probably wasn't. I think some of them are silver plated, whether this one is or not, I'm not sure. But certainly they're still being made, as far as I can tell, in Fez, and they are described as being made from brass and chrome, and then silver plated. So maybe it is silver plated on top, and then stamped. So the patterns may have been stamped by hand. It may have been assembled by hand. So yes, we keep finding things from different continents, and it's a nice thing. I mean, I don't know that I would use it to make tea, but it's definitely been used. It's not in pristine condition. It certainly looks like it has been used to make tea, and somebody has handled it many times, and yeah, it feels nice.
When I was building the wood divider wall in the stables, I discovered that my mitre saw was broken, which added time and inaccuracy to the project. I'm going to try and repair the saw, as I know I'll need it again very soon. Well, I've decided there must be an intermittent fault with this, because it wasn't working out in the barn. I brought it in here, plugged it in and tested it. It was working. I took it out to the barn, took it back out to the barn. It wasn't working. I brought it back here. It's not working. So something isn't right. I'm going to try and find out what. Having had a good poke about inside, I found nothing much wrong with it, to be honest. I suspect that there was debris fouling the on switch that fell away when I dismantled it. I'll put it back together. So what I might just do is, now it's isolated again, just loosen and tighten all the screws that are connecting the wires to the various parts to make sure there isn't anything in there that's sort of intermittently losing connection somehow, even though it all seems tight. But that's all I can really do, and perhaps I'll put a French plug on here so that I don't have to use an adapter each time. Let's cut to the end. It now works like a charm. In less than a week now, a film crew from Channel 4's Chateau DIY, a television programme on British TV, will be coming here to film a Christmas episode. They will be filming us as we prepare to decorate the chateau, and also filming the arrival of Dizzy and Molly. This is why we've been working like mad in the fields, and why I now have to cut and move much of this firewood so I can build the dividing wall to complete the second stable bay. There's a lot to do, and an ever-dwindling amount of time to do it in.
We were doing a bit of tidying, moving these pallets, when we made a discovery.
We just found these two little newts in front of the barn while we were digging around for things, and we're going to take them to a new wood pile where they can overwinter.
Here they will have plenty of rotting wood and leaves to hide under and won't be disturbed.
Back in Stable Bay 2, I was finishing off the first dividing wall before I get started on the second one in the next few days. Now that both sides are covered with sheets of OSB, I feel much more confident that Harry isn't going to cause damage when he scratches his bum on the wood. The moment that perhaps none of you have been waiting for.
In terms of what this might be worth, I was surprised when I first looked this up that they're not terribly valuable. I mean, there's so much craftsmanship gone into making it, but I guess it's from a part of the world where labour's not very well paid. So you can pick one of these up. The lowest price I've seen for something similar to this is only €10. But I've also seen some very shiny examples. The highest valued one I saw, which I'm sure isn't the same as this, somebody wanted €600 for it, and it looked very much like it was made of silver. This one I think is probably a lower quality one than that. And then I found two with the eagle perched on top, very similar to this. The pattern was slightly different, but the shape of the teapot was the same. I found one in Europe, maybe in France, and one in America, and they were asking the same, basically the same price, and that was €90 or $90. So I think that's probably fair enough for something like this. It was described as being from the 1960s, which I could believe. So a vintage item, not a tremendously old item, but a lovely thing nonetheless.
It was my last chance of the year to go and do something crazy. After being in France for 6 months, it was my first opportunity to go skydiving. I should point out that this wasn't my first go. I've been skydiving for 3.5 years.